What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the channel. Today we have a 2017 F250 6.7 Power Stroke. Customer brought this one in, first time customer, wants to do an oil change, full service inspection, and has a check engine light. I've already done a little bit of diagnosis and checking into the check engine light. What he has is a P20EE, P20 Echo Echo. What that code is it's basically a catalyst efficiency. So it's on the gasoline engine similar to a P0420 for catalytic converter efficiency. This is obviously a diesel, so it's using NOx sensors and monitoring the efficiency of the SCR, or the selective catalyst reduction system. So there is a PCM update out for that. That I want to perform before I go ahead and do any further diagnosis or cost the guy any more money. There is a service bulletin from Ford that has been released to address this concern. So I already talked to the customer. We're going to go ahead and do the PCM update, do a manual regen on the vehicle, and then we're going to go ahead and do the SCR parameter reset, which basically resets. It's similar to resetting keep alive memory in a PCM, but it's for the SCR system. It's going to reset all the data values back to 0 and let it relearn. So this is a first-time customer. He wants to do a full inspection, so I figured this was a good time to make a video on common issues on the 17 to 20 Alumiduty platform, the second generation, basically first generation after steel body. So I'm going to start with the under hood, on the ground type items. The vehicle is not racked up yet because I've got it pulled through the rack, which you'll see why I have it pulled through the rack here shortly. And then we'll go ahead and throw this thing up on the rack. We'll check steering, suspension, brakes, all that stuff underneath. This one has 79,000 miles on it. Customer already stated fuel filters were changed at the last oil change at 76,000. So only 3,000 miles on the fuel filters. I don't know what they used, if they used Ford or some other aftermarket brand. So we're gonna let those ride out, but we'll get under the hood. Couple things you're gonna wanna check on these. I noticed that the coolant level in the primary system was low. So I went ahead, first thing you're always gonna check on any 6.7 that is, now get up here, this is your thermostat housing here. You're always gonna wanna look down here around the thermostat housing where this upper hose goes on, and you're gonna wanna wiggle this. Normally I do this under pressure when the cooling system's warmed up. If you wiggle this, sometimes you'll see coolant will squirt out down in there or start dribbling down the thermostat housing. That's because the O-ring inside of this fitting, they get dry rotted over time and then they start to leak. There's actually a Dorman O-ring kit. Or you can go ahead and replace this, get you a nice new silicone set. There's some out now that actually do away with the quick connect and put a hose clamp back on both ends there and at the upper of your radiator. So I'm looking here, just giving it a quick once over. Another thing that's really common, and I can already see this one has been leaking, all of these little one-time clamps on these small secondary lines, they always leak. These ones are fairly dry, but I do see dried up coolant residue there. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend to the customer that we replace these and put regular hose clamps on. And then when I get it up in the air, I'm going to look underneath. We'll give it a good look over and see if we see any other coolant leaks. I don't see any other leaks on the motor, anything concerning. Serpentine belt looks to be in good shape. I did go ahead and check that with the tool and it looks okay. Another thing you're going to want to check, big topic of discussion on 6.7s, crankcase filter. You look back here, this is your crankcase ventilation box filter, whatever you want to call it, CCV. This is original. If you see your box and it still has this sticker on top of it with the injector IQA codes on it there with the QR code, this is the original. I don't know what everyone else is doing. It's a hot topic, but I recommend the customers change this every 50,000 miles. That is an old style, so I'm going to recommend to this customer that we put the 23 new style CCV box on there too. Another thing you can do to verify if this is starting to plug up or is, get the engine warm, pop the oil fill cap off. You're gonna see smoke, steam, oil vapor coming out of here normally. The biggest concern is when you pop this cap loose and you pick up on it, you don't want this to fly up and hit the hood or have any excessive back pressure. It is normal to have some, obviously, crankcase ventilation through there and steam coming out, but anything excessive is cause for concern and will eventually cause you to have upper oil pan leaks, vacuum pump leaks, rear main seal leaks, front crank seal leaks, all the above. Moving to the other side of the engine bay, went ahead and popped this out. I've already got this over on the bench. It said this air filter was probably replaced at the last service. So we have the engine air filter here, and you can see someone has completely foobarred the installation of an air filter. So this is just another example, you know, when I'm talking about people doing poor quality work, or, you know, not, this seal is completely ruined now, which means if this seal is collapsed down on top of the air box here, you're not getting a good seal there, which leads straight into the intake and into the turbo of the motor. So if you don't get a good seal here and you're driving dusty, dirty roads, normal dirt, what's gonna happen is all that debris is gonna basically bypass the filter, getting through this part that's smashed down and go straight into your engine. So we're gonna replace this with a Motorcraft filter, get this thing out of here, install it the right way. Another area of concern that I see overlooked an awful lot, and this is only on 17 and up. This doesn't apply to the steel body guys with 11 to 16. For whatever reason, Ford in their infinite wisdom didn't put a cabin air filter in there. So a lot of you out there probably had to deal with evaporator core replacements or seen videos on evaporator cores that are absolutely plug solid, especially in work trucks that are, you know, ran in dusty conditions a lot. So went ahead and pulled this one apart here. You can see, go ahead, when you want to take this out, basically you're going to have this box in here, upper glove box, manual storage. So you'll pop these two screws out here, and then along the edge there's 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 6 or so plastic clips. So you can go ahead and get that and just work a trim tool in here around the edges and up here, pull on that gently around the edges until it pops out. Your cabin air filter is going to be housed right in there. There are 2 tabs basically here on the side. You put your finger behind there and pop the tab out. Same thing on this side, pop it out, and then the cabin air filter will come right out. Head over to the bench and show you what we found with that. Here is the cabin air filter. Made in USA, off to a good start. Not sure if this is a Motorcraft one or not. I doubt it. It's awfully janky, and I believe the Motorcraft one actually say it on there. So this is already what I've gotten out of there because I sent the video to the customer already. But just looking in this, you can see in the pleats that there's just all kinds of debris down in there. So these often get overlooked by your 5-10 minute quickie lubes. They're more so pulling the truck in. They're going to sell you on windshield wipers, the air filter that they can't install right, and then they're going to drain, refill the oil, throw a $6 filter on there, and send you on your way. So I think that's it. I'm sure people will roast me in the comments if I'm missing anything that's common under the hood. Actually, before we move on, there is one more thing. Everyone knows that this charge pipe on the steel bodies is very common because it's plastic. This end part here will actually get brittle over time, and what happens is this will just completely blow off of here in a million pieces under boost pressure. So they've changed it now on the 17 and up. They actually go to this rubber hose, but what happens with these now is normally if you look and you look underneath here where my finger is on this curve or on the front, you'll see they'll start to crack or get stress cracks in them. This one actually is in pretty good shape, but this is another thing that I recommend for all the Alumiduty guys. Go ahead and get rid of this. S&B makes a really nice metal pipe to go from the throttle body down to the charge air cooler or intercooler down there. I think that's pretty much it for under the hood. I got a new camera, lots going on. I'm gonna test the batteries on this with a load tester. Another argument or topic of discussion, a lot of people using electric battery testers nowadays. I think this is the only way that we'll test batteries here. This is a carbon pile load tester. This is a 500 amp. We can go up to 1,000 cold cranking amps. These are 850s normally on the Power Strokes or most diesels, so that one is big enough. But I've had so many times now where you use an electric battery tester or electronic battery tester. I'll show you what the one is that I have. Somewhere in here. Like this one. Top down, little electric jobby. Quick, easy, click the buttons. The problem is I've had this happen multiple times now where you test a battery and it says good recharge battery. So you recharge the battery, next day it's cold, whatever happens, the battery doesn't start. And I've also had it say where the battery's bad and it just needed charged. I've since pretty much went back to the old school carbon pile load testers. It's a good way. It actually puts a physical load. It basically has a dead short coil inside the, inside the tester, and you pick your amperage, and that actually puts a load on the batteries like the starter would when you're trying to crank the vehicle. So I've went back to that. It's a lot more reliable. Everyone likes electric ones, especially ones with printers, because it's easier to show a customer the readout. But nowadays we're texting and sending digital inspections to customers, so it's almost just as easy to take a video of the carbon pile load tester if you want to show a customer. Take a video, set it up, crank that amperage up, and watch the needle drop down, and you can sell batteries just as easily. So that's what I've started doing, because I feel I'm doing a better service to the customer. It's a more thorough test of the battery rather than just throwing electronic on it and calling it bad or good. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing racked up. We're going to get it in the air, and then we're going to go over the under vehicle inspection, and I will get the service done. Catch you when I get back. All right, so we got the truck up off the ground about 3 or 4 inches. See here, I got a big pry bar. Truck's just barely off the ground. I'm going to show you how you should check the ball joints. First, obviously, look at the tires, look at the tread. You can see a little on the edge of these tires starting to get a little cupping. If you run your hand across the inside, it's pretty smooth. Decent wear pattern, so probably nothing major of concern with these. But we're going to go ahead and shake it down, 80,000 miles. So got it up off the ground a little bit. What I want you to focus on is the ball joint here. And I don't know how good you're going to be able to see it. I'm only a one-man show. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your pry bar under the tire and only pry up the amount of play if you feel any kind of play in there. And then you're going to look where I just showed you for any kind of movement. And I feel just a tiny bit of movement in there. So probably an upper or lower ball joint. I'll have someone help me check this just to be sure, but normally it's going to be upper or lower ball joint. 80,000 miles, normally around 100 depending on what the truck's been used for. You start to see this stuff wear out, so you're going to want to check that for the upper and the lower ball joint, see if you have any play in there. And then what you're going to do is get down here with the tire. You can bring it up to chest level, whatever. I normally just do it when it's down here, but you're going to want to just barely move this back and forth. This is only going to show you if you have major wear in a steering component or wheel bearing or something. The normal wear you're going to see out of these steering components, you're probably not going to feel it like this. You check top and bottom, side to side. Do that on both sides. The best way to check this is to have someone get in the vehicle down on the ground all the way on the suspension, and then you're going to want someone just to move the steering wheel ever so slightly back and forth, and then you're going to check all the components where I'm going to show you next, but you'll do it on the ground with someone in the vehicle with the load on it. That's the best way to check it. Unfortunately, if you're by yourself, I can show you another way that I check most of them, or I check all of them if I'm by myself, and it's going to show if you have any problems as well. So let's get this thing up in the air, and then I'll show you that. All right, so now we are under the vehicle. Get a better light here that I don't have to hold with my hand. Stick this on here. Let's try out this new fancy mount. So what we're going to be looking at is here. You have your steering. This is basically your connecting tie rod end that goes across the front. The bottom one here attaches the passenger side tire all the way across over to here, and that's going to attach to your driver's side tire. And then the top one here that runs up and is attached to the pitman arm. This is called the drag link. So basically what we're going to do is, since I don't have a wonderful assistant to help me, I'm going to get a pair of channel locks, adjust these to fit. You're going to want to get on the knuckle, and be careful that you don't rip the boot, but you're going to want to get on the knuckle and on the tie rod, and then you're going to squeeze and make sure you don't have any vertical play. That one I can see there. You can see that little bit of movement up and down there, and I can feel it popping. So that one's going to need replaced. See that on the upper? I don't know if you can see that. Let me get the camera in closer. I know it doesn't seem like a lot probably on the camera, but it's quite a bit of movement there. We'll go over to the other side. Do the same thing. Open these up a little bit more. We'll get on the bottom. Squeeze that. Try to get in the middle too, so you're not on the edge of it, rocking it per se. But I can feel that is popping in there. A little bit of play in there. I would say this is nothing that's going to fall apart tomorrow, but this front end is going to need rebuilt. I'm going to check the same here at the pitman arm. See that popping up and down? I don't know, it probably doesn't show up that good on camera, and this is a new camera, so I don't know how to zoom out on the fly yet, but that is probably has the most movement of all of them. So we're going to recommend complete front end rebuild. Basically, that's going to be outer tie rod here, lower outer here, drag link end, adjuster sleeve here, drag link, track bar ball joint always gets replaced if I'm redoing all the ball joints, and we're going to recommend this customer 4 upper and lower ball joints total, so 2 for each side. Check the U joints. Normally you can see these, if I don't block the light for you, you can see this U-joint has a grease fitting on it. We'll grease that during the service, and then I see a lot of videos online of people asking about this. This axle play up and down inside the housing is completely normal. What you don't want is you don't want binding feeling, and you can check these better if you turn the wheel to the lock where it's going to put the U-joint in a bind a little, and then you want to spin it and make sure it's free spinning. You want to make sure there's no slop in these cross joints. The reason that you have up and down vertical movement here is because the bearing that actually supports this, there's an axle shaft that runs here into the carrier, and the bearing that actually supports that shaft is mounted inside at the carrier. So you're gonna have that because you have this whole axle basically, especially on the passenger side, that's running the length of the tube, and the support bearing is actually in the carrier housing here, so, or in the differential housing. So the vertical up and down play is okay, but you don't want binding or anything like that in the U-joint. Let's go ahead and move on. We'll check these brakes. Looks like a new caliper here on this side. Now, if you were inspecting brakes for a brake concern, I'd pull the wheels. This is just the oil change, so it's kind of a complimentary inspection. I can look in there and see pad material looks really good. That caliper looks new. Wheel spins free, no noises. Boots are intact on the caliper. I don't know if these are factory shocks or upgraded. Check the same on the other side. Looks like we got a new caliper over here. Pad material looks really good. Probably not done too long ago. Spin it. That one spins pretty easy. Boots are also intact on that. Moving along. Front pinion seal. And who would have guessed it? Another common thing you're going to want to check on these 6.7s, if you haven't heard already, upper oil pan. And yes, the problems still occur on the 17 to 20s. Go up here in this corner and get this light flopped around, and you can see that we are leaking right up there where the upper pan meets the engine block. And you're going to want to check above. There were issues on the steel bodies with the vacuum pump bolts coming loose where you have to retighten them and Loctite them, but not so much on the 17 to 20s. But this upper pan is 100% leaking. Like I said, we're going to recommend CCV replacement, and then I'll show this upper pan leak to the customer, see what he wants to do. It's leaking on both sides. You can see it's wet there around that engine harness mount. So this one will need an upper pan. Looks like we got a really nice Service Champ oil filter. That's nice. All right, upper pan. Transmission, I don't see a transmission service where it's been done on the Carfax. I did pull that on this one. It's got 70,000 or 80,000, sorry. So I will recommend a filter and new fluid for this. This is 6R140, good old torque shift 6. Oh, let's move on back. looks like pretty good here. Nothing leaking on the transfer case output seal. Exhaust looks like it's in good shape. Rear pinion is dry. U-joints, just give those a turn. Kind of push up and down on the drive shaft. Same thing at the other end. Nothing there. Fuel filter housing looks good. Don't see anything wet. Come on back to the rear brakes. Give a good once over. Leaf springs. Don't see any major issues there. Shocks are pretty crustomatic. Looks like we have evidence shock might be leaking there barely. Check these rears. Looks like we have pretty good pad material. You can see the outside and the inside pad. Boots are intact, upper and lower. Yeah, this shocks are definitely leaking a little bit of fluid. Come across, check the other brake. Okay, here's a good example. You can see this pad material here. Try to get better light that's not blinding the camera. There we go. You can see that pad material in there, right at where it meets the rotor. All the way in here where my finger is. Between this is the rotor here and then your pad. So there's no material, right? That's the inside pad. You can look at the bottom of the inside pad and see that there's a little more material. So it's more up here, less down here, and then the outside pad is worn about the same. I'm probably not gonna be able to show you that on camera, but this brake more than likely, one of these, the boots look like they're intact. I don't see anything wrong there, but more than likely what's wrong here is a caliper slide pin is frozen or the caliper itself is sticking. It could be the hose. I'm gonna let the customer know this is noted that it's uneven brake wear in the rear and it will need disassembly if he wants us to further diagnose it. So that's a simple, easy check. If you see one on this side that's got, no brake pad left, you come over here, this pad material on this side is almost brand new. So that side definitely got an issue going on unless someone's done a one side pad slap at one point, which is kind of hard to tell without having it apart. So we'll tell the customer that we need to tear that apart if he wants us to figure out what's going on there, and we'll move forward with that. I think that is probably going to wrap it up for the underneath side. You have other 6-7 concerns that go to all platforms. CP4 pump, should I put a DCR, should I put a disaster prevention kit? But as far as, just a normal giving inspection, what should I look for if you're buying a vehicle or if you're going to service your own vehicle, things to check. You have the obvious other things. Check your tire pressure, check your tire wear, rotate tires, give everything a once over. Check the hitch on the truck, look at the hitch bolts, make sure you don't have excessive rust on anything on the hitch. This is an 8-year-old truck, 9-year-old truck. He does have 2 tire pressure lights on. Left side tires, the sensors are dead. Gonna have to replace them. I'll go ahead and recommend that he replaces all 4 TPMS sensors. They usually last 8 to 10 years. Like I said, this is 8-9-year-old vehicle, so it's probably time. I think that's gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna go ahead and do the oil change on this, get that air filter installed, get the cabin air filter installed, and then I'll put this report together, inspection for the customer, and see what he wants to do. So if y'all got any questions or if you have any criticisms or want to roast me in the comments on stuff I missed, that's fine. Go ahead, put everything below. I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe, share this video to your friends. Leave me some comments. Let me know what kind of content do you want to see. Would you like to see more diagnosis videos? Do you want to see electrical diagnosis? Do you like these kind of videos, more of a how-to or what to look for style video? Obviously I'm getting, I'm pretty new into the whole YouTube social media space, new cameras, still trying to figure all this stuff out. And there's a lot more to it than people think. Everyone thinks, oh yeah, just record YouTube videos, it's easy, but you have to also stay in the right mindset while you're working on a customer's vehicle. You're trying to record a video, you're trying to still do the same job that you're doing without recording a video, but you're adding a whole nother mental piece to recording it. So it is a lot going on, and I want to give a lot of respect to a lot of people I watch on YouTube. Royalty Auto, awesome video editing. Obviously, shout out BFT, Bearded Ford Tech. Go check him out. Power Stroke Tech Talk with A-Rod. I talk to him a lot. Rain Man Ray, I Do Cars, Fluffy Mexicanic, Flying Wrenches, all them guys. I mean, it's really something that's taken for granted when you watch YouTube videos and you don't think how much goes into it behind the scenes. Not just on the recording side, but then you have to sit down, you have to edit the videos, and then you mess up, then you need to record a section. So there's a lot that goes into it. I appreciate all y'all for tuning in, watching. Like I said, drop comments below and let me know what you'd like to see next, and we'll try to get something put out for you. Catch you in the next one.